Hello my readers, and welcome back to our channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe, it really helps us out. Today we're going to read another book about Mrs. Hartwell's crazy class, and this time they're going to the zoo. The name of the book is Field Trip Fiasco, so let's get into it, shall we? It was the morning of the field trip to the zoo. Mrs. Hartwell's students tumbled into the classroom. They were very, very, very excited. Mrs. Hartwell, however, shuffled in slowly. She remembered the last field trip. It took a little bit of rest and a little bit of time and a lot of research, but eventually Mrs. Hartwell was ready to try again. The morning of the field trip, she wrote out her very own list of field trip tips and put together her handy-dandy, just-in-case-something unexpected happens bag. Mrs. Hartwell felt ready for anything. During circle time, Mrs. Hartwell helped her students get ready. "When does the fun start?" Andy asked. "Getting organized is fun," Mrs. Hartwell said, smiling. "Speaking of fun, let's review your learning task for the zoo. Who can tell me what it is?" "We're supposed to be animal observers," Madison called out. "And we write down what we see animals doing," Alexandra added. "That doesn't sound like fun," Andy complained. "It'll be great. We'll all be focused and learn lots," Mrs. Hartwell said as she passed out the animal observation sheets. Foolproof field trip tip number 1. Give students a job to keep them focused and learning, and out of trouble. "Can I go to the bathroom?" Eddie asked just as he got to the bus. "Hurry back," Mrs. Hartwell said distractedly as she assigned everyone their seats. "Darn," Andy said when he saw where he was seated. Mrs. Hartwell felt good. She felt prepared. She felt relieved that they'd gotten this far without any problems. As the bus began to pull away from the curb, Mrs. Hartwell looked over her list again. "Eddie! Stop!" she yelled, running down the aisle. Mrs. Hartwell hurried off the bus, into the school, and almost into the boys' bathroom. Foolproof field trip tip number 2. Take attendance often. You don't want to lose anyone. The bus bounced along the highway. Mrs. Hartwell was happy. Her students were happy too. All of a sudden, instead of bouncing, the bus chugged. And then instead of chugging, it stopped. "No problem," Mrs. Hartwell thought. She pulled out a huge bag of animal crackers from her just-in-case bag. Everyone agreed that being stuck on the bus was the absolutely perfect way to start a field trip. Foolproof field trip tip number 3. Be prepared for delays. Food works. Soon enough, the bus was fixed and they arrived at the zoo. Mrs. Hartwell lined up everyone by partner and asked them to count off by twos. The class counted all the way to 26. 26? Mrs. Hartwell exclaimed when they stopped. "But we only have 24 students in our class. Who's in our class who's not in our class?" Jack and Alexandra brought 2 little boys up to the front of the line. After a quick look around, Mrs. Hartwell returned the boys to their teacher. Foolproof field trip tip number 4. Partnering up prevents problems. Mrs. Hartwell's class started at the petting zoo. "Don't forget to fill in your observation sheet," she reminded everyone. "The goat has a beard and looks like an old man," Alexandra wrote as she walked. She didn't see the hay bale until she somersaulted over it. Ouch! Madison didn't see Alexandra until she somersaulted over her. Ouch! Mrs. Hartwell gave a few hugs as she hustled her students away from the petting zoo. Just because you're observing the animals doesn't mean you can stop observing where you're going, she reminded everyone. Foolproof field trip tip number 5. Bring a first aid kit with lots of bandages. "Don't forget your observation sheets," Mrs. Hartwell called out when they got to the elephant compound. "The mama elephant is standing quietly with her baby," Alexandra wrote. "The baby elephant has his eyes closed. I bet he's sleeping," Madison wrote. "This is boring. They aren't doing anything. There's nothing to write," Eddie wrote. Everyone was so busy writing that no one noticed the daddy elephant take a big, long, thirsty drink. Spray, splash, splatter! All the students screamed. Eddie screamed the loudest. "I didn't see him coming," he moaned. Thought Mrs. Hartwell as she dried Eddie off and helped him put on some new clothes. Foolproof field trip tip number 6. Bring lots of paper towels and an extra t-shirt. The aviary was the next stop. "This is like walking into a giant bird cage," Jack yelled. "Write it on your observation sheet," Mrs. Hartwell reminded him. Everyone looked around quickly and then got busy writing. They were so busy writing that they didn't see the baby birds peeking out of the nest above the door, and they didn't notice the sparrows taking a bath. But they did hear the parrot squawk as it flew over Eddie. And they observed something wet and white drop onto his head. And they watched Eddie jumping up and down, yelling, "Gross! Yuck! Get it off me!" But even after Mrs. Hartwell wet wiped and paper toweled him off, Eddie was still howling. Foolproof field trip tip number 7. No matter what happens, stay calm. That's when the zookeeper appeared and said with a smile, "Did you know that many people consider an accident like this a sign of good luck? Congratulations!" He handed Eddie a special badge and a free pass to the zoo. Eddie stopped screaming. He smiled. "Why does all the good stuff always happen to Eddie?" Andy said loudly. And that gave Mrs. Hartwell an idea. "Class, Eddie's good luck is going to rub off on all of us. Put away your observation sheets. For the rest of the day, we'll continue to be animal observers, but we'll be animal observation writers later." Yay! Everyone cheered as they put away their observation sheets and headed out to see the rest of the zoo. The monkeys chattered, and so did the students. The lions roared, and so did the students. The hyenas laughed, and so did the students. Throughout the rest of the day, the students noticed everything. When they got back to school, Mrs. Hartwell's class filled out the rest of their animal observation sheets. They had so much to write and talk about. They had learned a lot on their field trip to the zoo. Foolproof field trip tip number 8. Give students time to share their experiences. And so had Mrs. Hartwell. You at the zoo. Foolproof field trip tip number 9. Field trips are for focus, learning, and fun. Especially fun. Have you ever had a crazy field trip? One time we went on a field trip to the zoo, and somebody stumbled and almost fell down, and one of the teachers said, "Did you have a nice trip? I'll see you next fall." And for some reason, it just tickled everybody's funny bone, and we laughed and laughed and laughed almost the whole day. Somebody would bring that up. It was just a fun, silly day. All right, well, I will see you in another story.